Welcome to the Futur, you guys. Hello, beautiful people. We are live today. We are so live on Facebook and YouTube. I don't think we're doing Twitch today, are we, Erica?
Nope,
not today. Not today. And today we're going to be doing something really meaty. We've been doing a lot of design stuff, talking about typography, graphic design, reviewing your work, and people are missing some of the business content. And I posted something recently on my Facebook page about creative process and why process is so important to me. It got a big reaction. And so people said, well, you've identified the problem, but what's the solution? So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the client dynamic, the client relationship. Most of us went to design school or some kind of creative school, and we learned to do the craft, the making of things. But very few of us were schooled in the dark arts of business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, I want to say hi to the Dream Team. Team, how's it going? Happy Thursday to you guys.
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Awkwardness.
Hey, there's no Molly here, but we see Mark. Mark's back on the show. Mark's going to be a good addition to the show in this segment in particular because he's worked as a freelance person for quite some time. And since there are a lot of business issues and client dynamic, I thought it totally appropriate that Mark step away from his busy editing duties and jump in on the show with us, right?
Yep.
All right, guys. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it raw. Roll the titles, please. And we're back. All right, I prepared a deck for you guys today, but before we get into the deck, I just want to warn you, today we're going to dive in real deep, really deep. So I'm going to warn you, go out, get a beverage right now, use the bathroom, get your notepad ready, because we're going to cover lots of things today. And we got extra segments too. So let's see how this goes. Is that enough warning, you guys?
I think so.
Yeah? All right, Aaron, you give me the silent treatment? You can't nod on the radio.
I gotta warm up here. I feel cold. I feel stiff right now.
Right, guys, you need to be warmer.
I gotta warm up.
Come on, man. Let's get into the show.
Let's just get into it. I'm sure it'll warm up.
All right, let's get into it then. Okay, here we go. I just want to let you guys know this session today is going to be really interactive. I'm looking for you guys to talk to us on Facebook and YouTube. Aaron will be monitoring the questions as well as Mark Contreras, and we will dive into the show. Let's cut to my deck. Okay, this is raw, of course, and I got the wrong date. Matthew was telling me before the date was wrong, and I got the right date. Today is 10/12, right?
That
October
is correct.
12th? Okay, we're
12.
off to a good start. And I want to start off with some gratitude. My gratitude is just to say thank you to everybody that has become a sustaining member, the outpouring, the support, the comments, the love that you're sharing, the messages, everything. It warms my cold heart. So 188 of you guys have stepped up to become sustaining members who have pledged to give us $5 a month, every single month, so that we can keep doing this.
That means a lot, guys.
It does mean a lot.
I'm touched.
Thank you.
The sincerity in your voice, Aaron. The sincerity in your voice is just killing me.
You can see the excitement on
Yes,
his
you can.
face.
Okay, our goal today, Aaron, I wish I had a drum roll, but some of the sound effects aren't working, is to get 139 new members. You think that's possible? Can we get 139 people to step up and commit today?
Oh, definitely, man. 100%.
You get even a percentage of the viewers, yeah.
Yeah, considering how many people tune in, watch the show, tune in live. How many people are on YouTube right now, Mark? Can you tell?
278.
278. Hopefully it'll grow.
And a quick donation already from Tony Lopez.
Oh, of course, Tony's on it really fast. All right, today's episode is called Rethinking the Client Dynamic. Rethinking the Client Dynamic. And I'm going to start off with a couple of questions, you guys. The question is, how do you feel about working with your clients right now? So everybody that's out there working as a freelancer or a solopreneur, a small agency owner, how do you feel about working with your clients? Next question is, what are your pain points around doing client work? I want you to take a moment to think about that. And let's jump onto social media, you guys. If you're doing this via Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, tell us what some of the pain point, the challenges that you're having doing client work. And let's take a look at some of those comments. Can we? You guys up on the web? Do I have a team?
Yeah, we're waiting. You just asked. I'm sure they're thinking about it.
Okay.
We just got another donation.
Oh, awesome.
Looks like she's not thinking about it, but not being able to meet their... Oh, okay, we got one here. Not being able to meet their needs. They're frustrating. I think I have trouble saying no.
Yeah.
I was talking about Aaron's beard. No.
Scope creep.
Scope creep. Good. Let's write some of this down. Is anybody writing any of this stuff down?
Yep.
Okay.
Finding clients.
Finding clients? Okay, that's a different issue
Well,
altogether.
Making
a little before
sure
that.
they understand what they're paying for.
Understand what they're paying for?
The
Okay.
pay is definitely a hard one.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
what? What? Say that
The
again?
pay
The
is
pay.
definitely a hard one. So that guy was agreeing.
Okay, good.
Trouble
Okay.
making them listen.
Oh, making them listen.
Scope change after approvals.
Right.
Yeah, changing their minds.
Scope change.
The scope
This is
creep.
very good. This is very good, guys.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of good ones.
Communicating through email.
I need a little bit more clarification. That was unclear in your comment, communicating through email.
How do you handle a client that asks, "What if I don't like your design?"
So taste differences.
Oh, that's a nice way to sum that up.
Clients taste ignorance.
Hold on. Go a little slower so we can all process this, Aaron. Unless you have a photographic memory, we're all writing things down. So Mark, you're writing stuff down.
Yep.
And we're going to touch on these things. And okay, Aaron, say that one more time.
The "what if I don't like your design" or the one after that?
I don't know, wherever you were, dude.
Okay, yeah. So the client saying, "What if I don't like your design?" And then there's clients taste ignorance. So they have crappy taste. How to deal with that as a designer?
Taste.
Feature
Retaining-
creep.
Retaining clients for future work. 'Cause that's kind of after the fact.
Yeah, that's after the fact. So we're going to mostly focus on I already have a client, I'm working with them, and I'm experiencing some challenges. So if you have no clients, that's a different episode. This implies that you're already working with somebody. And after you work with them, that's a different episode. So I want to just box you guys in just a little bit to focus on what it's like to work with a client right now. Okay, what else? Anything else?
I'm seeing a lot of ones about the scope creep and how to
Yeah.
handle a client that nitpicks a lot.
Yeah.
Nitpicks.
Like
okay.
the micromanaging
Yeah,
clients.
Yes.
that's kind of the same thing, right?
It
Similar.
is. It is. Micromanaging. And another thing that we commonly refer to as a client wants to play art director.
Yeah. I noticed about being director, it's like the easiest thing to get into, but the hardest thing to do. You know?
I feel like a lot of them have to have their hand in it and want to be the art director because their money's in it.
Oh,
That
okay.
might be a part
Is that
of
what?
it.
Okay, that's interesting. They want to put their thumbprint on it.
Right?
Is that what you
like,
think?
I'm paying money, I should have some say.
Oh, okay. You should have some say. Good. And Erica, have you had any kind of client experiences? Any pain points you want to share? If not, don't worry about it. Just asking.
I see another good comment here if she doesn't have anything.
Go ahead.
How to explain the value of a proper designer versus online logo bidding.
Okay. This is also client onboarding. So that's a different topic again. You haven't secured the client yet.
So this is once you already got the client.
But these
how to
are very
handle the
good.
job.
Yeah. If you already have the client and you've agreed to terms and you do the project, what are the pain points and challenges that you're having?
Oh, here's
This
a
is
good one.
Go ahead.
I have a hard time giving my clients updates if I've made less progress than I expected to make.
Is that your problem or is that the client's problem?
Well, that's my problem, right? As a designer, I told them I would have this done by this day.
Oh, so
but
you
I don't.
overpromise. You
Yeah. So
overpromise.
how to tell them in a way that's
Okay.
makes me not look like I screwed up.
So it's
Okay,
like-
those are all very good. Okay.
Bringing up payment and
Payment terms?
yes, and figuring out how to do it that both parties are satisfied on how that works.
Okay. That's also in the onboarding process, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Just remind me, Erica, on that one, okay?
I see
Now-
a bunch coming in about unresponsive clients,
Yeah?
and I guess that kind of relates to the whole deadlines thing because if they don't respond to me, how can I make my deadlines?
Right. I see. Unresponsive clients. That is a good pain point right there.
Clients don't know what they want.
Okay, don't know what they want.
Or
That's
they
a very common one. Don't
This-
know what they
This
want.
guy just said, "Gonna be a good lesson today." Ho 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 ho. Ha ha ha. I can't see it from this.
Okay. Right. Okay. Mark, you're monitoring Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because sometimes
Oh, I
Facebook
actually-
feels like they don't get enough love from us because we're always looking on YouTube and not always on Facebook. And it's hard because it's hard to be present. Ooh, it's hard to be present and to be engaged in this dialogue with me and then also to be monitoring two different social streams. So we'll cut them some slack.
Thanks,
I would
Chris.
rather they be present to the conversation, to the dialogue, instead of looking on social media and reading all of the comments. So be patient with us, you guys. Okay, let's get back onto the deck. So we've asked social media, we've asked you guys what your pain points are. And I've gone ahead and written down, I wrote a couple of pain points that are very common in my travels as a lecturer, as a teacher, and a person who's consulting people. Here are some pain points that they've shared with me. One is the clients don't have a clear idea about what they want. We heard that one, right? So where's my ding? I don't have a ding on here. Okay. All right. Clients are indecisive. They change their mind often. So as we go along here, you guys tell me how I'm doing in terms of guessing or listening to what people have been saying all these years.
Okay.
Here's another pain point. Late cycle revisions, meaning we've gone past the point of reason and the clients are still changing the design. Not just making a tweak, but saying, hey, I'm not feeling it. I'm underwhelmed. I'm not feeling this at all. So can we do this again? So you're beginning the design process all the way from the beginning once again. And lastly, and this is going to send chills down everybody's spine here, and especially if you've had this kind of client before, they want to pretend, in air quotes, art director. They want to tell you,
fun.
I don't like that typeface. Is that the right point size? And they know just enough about design and design vocabulary that they start to tell you what to do. Now, here's the problem. And I want to point out maybe a logic issue here for you guys. When you say the clients don't know what they want, that is a good thing. That gives opportunity for you to be the expert in the room. If the clients knew what they wanted, they would tell you, and then they would be your art director. So I want to get rid of that one right away. Clients are not supposed to know what they want. You're supposed to help them. Imagine the situation if you're working with a professional chef or a carpenter or something that you have no idea about. Let's just say a surgeon, a neurosurgeon, something that you could probably not have any knowledge about. And so you're there and you're talking to the doctor, but then you try to tell the doctor what to do. You're not supposed to know. So the doctor is supposed to have great bedside manners and talk you through the process. This will be painless. We're going to do this. This is the typical recovery time. This is a minimally invasive, whatever it is that they're going to tell you to make you feel better. And unfortunately, a lot of our design education doesn't really get into this, and we're not taught how to talk to our clients and to walk them through our process. So that's one kind of myth I want to dispel right away, which is they're not supposed to know what they want.
That's like good because you have an open slate to go ahead and ask them questions and determine what the plan is.
Right. And I'd like to work with somebody who doesn't know what they want and allow me to guide them through the process so we can have a conversation, some dialogue about it. And through the process of us talking and sharing together, I'm able to quickly determine with them what it is that they want. All right, let's get into this. Now, some of you guys that are tuning in on YouTube aren't aware that there's a whole thriving community on Facebook. So I want to point that out just really quickly here. There are at least 4 or 5 different pages or groups we've created on Facebook to contain the different kinds of dialogue that we have. But the one I want to point your attention to right now is the one in the bottom right, which is Chris Do Business Designer page. And on this page, all I talk about are business issues. I'm not going to post things about typography review or anything like that. I don't want to talk about anything except for business issues surrounding people in the creative field. So now that you know where that is, the question I had asked my community there, which is about 10,000 people strong, is what is your creative formula?
And what do you mean by that?
Creative formula? Well, the idea of having a clearly defined process, Mark, that's what I refer to as a creative formula. And do you have one? Is it clear? Do you communicate this to your client? Is it on your website? Is it in your proposals? Do they know what they're getting into? So we say that the clients are making changes. There's issues about payment terms, etc. Well, have we done a good job of communicating that to them?
You're talking about process here.
We are talking about process. And so I made a diagram here. And this is the diagram that prompted this entire episode right now, which is I said, this is what I imagine your creative formula to be. Well, how do I know this? I know this because this used to be my creative formula. And this is the one that many of us adapt as part of how we work with clients. And maybe it's by default that this is the case, or maybe an instructor said this is the way, or perhaps there's just a lack of information about how to work with clients. Like I said, most of the schools, most of the programs focus heavily on creating of the work and less about how to deal with it. I mean, how to deal with the client, how to do proposals, etc. Okay, so I'm going to walk you guys through this really briefly here. The process usually begins when a client reaches out in panic. And then we engage in some dialogue with them. Some of us submit questionnaires for the clients to fill out. Then we go on the internet, we look for stuff, we start making stuff, and we present the work. And at this stage, what you present is drastically different than what the clients were expecting, so they don't know how to react. So they give you vague direction. And most of the time, it's because they're feeling a little bit of panic and regret. Did I hire the right person? Do they understand my beliefs, my values? Are we in agreement with the things that we like? And you guys go through this process, and it goes over and over and over again until they beat the spirit out of you. Oftentimes, this is kind of referred to as the dark night of the soul, and you just don't know which way is up anymore. So ultimately, what happens is we give up, we surrender, we finish the work. It's behind schedule. It's definitely over budget in the sense that now you're upside down on the job. You are now working at somewhere near minimum wage, if that. And the work ultimately is not what you want, it's not what the client wants. There must be a better way. So as soon as I posted this, I got some feedback from a bunch of different people on Facebook. So I want to read some of the comments here. Some of them are pretty funny, actually, and some of them are just really painful just to read. Let me see if I can do this right. So Joe says, I have worked for too many agencies where this is the norm and have almost burned out as a designer. So he's suffering burnout.
That's not good.
If you go through this process a couple of times, week after week, month after month, year after year, you will experience burnout because it's not rewarding. We didn't go into doing something creative, whether you're a photographer, illustrator, designer, web designer, only to just be risks for somebody to tell what to do work that you're not proud of. That is a very painful thing for us, especially because we've given up the tried and true professional path of doing something quote unquote legitimate. And so we've taken on all this risk, and with the risk should come some reward. So now you're not even being paid enough, and you're not doing work that is good for your creative soul. So there's a better way to follow. There is a better way if you follow Chris Do. His advice, his process, and we've been willing to put in the time. Whatever. Let's keep going. So somebody, Zara asks, what could be the better way? All right, let's go on to the next one here. Luciano, a detail on this form. I'm like pulling them all, you guys.
I think
it's from. No, it's from. I didn't read it correctly. It's tiny type on my screen here, so I apologize. A detail on this from any of you guys would be phenomenal. Like, let's say the client wants to make a menu for a restaurant. How do you do this? Translate into words. You talk about the nature of his business and what he wants to convey? Question mark. Prioritize what happens here? Question. So this person, Luciano, has lots of questions. And he wanted me to talk about this, so here we are, we're talking about it.
Good questions.
Here's another comment that came in. Juan says, Aaron, help me out here.
Le ha pasado? I don't know what that means. Le ha pasado?
Is this
a name?
Different language, May?
Oh, it's his name?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a person.
Okay, so he's basically Google or YouTube or Facebook translates it as, has it happened to you, May? Haha. So May might be a term of endearment. I don't know, whatever. And the response is, May mucho más, whatever. Aaron, you want to try that one?
Mucho más común de lo que parece o debería ser. Creo que son los años se va puliendo, pero igual cuesta.
Yeah. Is like haha?
It's laughing.
Yeah.
Haha.
Okay, so the translation is laugh out loud, May. Much more common of what it looks like or should be, sad, teary face. I think with the years it's going to be polishing, but it still costs. I think what he's saying is it takes a really long time to do. He can imagine it taking years, and he's still polishing it, and it still costs so much money.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do is, check this out, guys. Look at this. The response to this from Juan is hilarious. So he sends him a diagram of two guys hugging like, I'm sorry, brother. Yeah. I'm sorry you have to go through this. What's a little disturbing to me is that they're two bald guys. One guy seems a little angry and worried, and they're both naked.
It doesn't. It totally doesn't seem sexual though. It
No, it's not
totally seems
sexual.
like two bros, like bro.
Right. It's just like it's sad. Two
Yeah.
naked bald guys hugging it
It's a
out,
good-
trying to comfort
yeah.
each other.
It's a good
They're
drawing.
sad.
It's
There's a lot of
making
love.
it's
It's good
making
drawing.
sense now. People in the comments are saying Maya is bro in Costa Rica, or Maya is slang for friend.
Friend. Yeah, that makes sense. Mai, like mijo,
Yeah.
something like that.
I
Yeah.
just don't like that slang, so
I
I
get
don't want
it.
to use it.
You're a very proper
Yeah.
Spanish-speaking
Get
guy.
that slang out of here, or I won't read it.
Maybe you should follow the same rule. Yeah. Yeah, May.
Yeah, man.
Whatever, man.
All right, last but not least, Lujan says, client becomes art director. Sideways, smiling face. It looks like it's in pain. Too true.
I
One
think
raise.
a lot of people encounter this one.
Yeah, they do. This was my past before the school, the process, or the future appeared in my life. Now I'm able to recognize when a customer situation is going to be like this. But I'm sure some of my colleagues are struggling with this situation. Luciano comments back, I feel this pain so deeply. So where do we go from here? What do we do, you guys? You
Give
guys have
up.
any thoughts?
Yeah, just
Give
give
up?
Yeah, forget it. Do something else.
Throw in the towel.
That's my advice.
All right, just go out by the back of the tool shed
Yeah,
and
just
take
go
care
out
of it.
somewhere private, take care of it.
That's pretty sad. It's pretty
Get
sad.
a new job.
All right. I'm sure the internet's feeling the pain right now. And I'm not doing this deliberately to tease you. There's a discussion. I want to dive in this deeper, and I want to share some of the solutions with you. Okay, now here's the deeper dive into all this stuff. When the client reaches out in panic, when they should have planned for this, they didn't, and they needed this yesterday now. And all of a sudden, their lack of planning becomes your problem. It becomes an urgent issue for you to deal with. And so when clients are in this state of mind, they're just going to do the brain dump. They want to say everything they want ever in their entire lives, tell you the history of the company, everything, and just do the old brain dump. And it's a term that I picked up from my older brother who works in Silicon Valley. It's like, let's go do a brain dump.
Yep.
So that has a certain connotation to it. It's kind of just vomiting out whatever's in your mind. And you as the designer are struggling because you're trying to figure out, is this relevant? Is this not relevant? And you're trying to categorize all this information. So it becomes really tough. So you may nod and you may pick up 1/10 of what they're trying to say. So that's problem number one.
I see it kind of being like air traffic control. You're trying to manage all these things going at you and trying to
I feel
make
like
sense of it all.
They think you're like this machine that I just brain dump all my ideas at you and you'll spit out exactly what I want somehow.
Yeah, and that tends to be the case. So they're disorganized, and because of the urgency behind the tasks that they want you to do, there really isn't a lot of patience, and they think, let me just get it to you really fast. Here's everything they think you need to know. So the client at this point is dictating the terms of the engagement. They're telling you everything, and you walk away probably more confused than anything. So you might do something that many designers do. You will follow up with a questionnaire. Like many people will send their clients a questionnaire, especially for branding or logo design work. They might ask you some questions like, Mark, I know you're a freelance cinematographer. What are some of the things that you might ask your clients in terms of trying to figure out what they want? Just broadly.
Yeah, what's the goal of the video that you want to produce? Who's your audience? What's your timeline? What kind of creative feel and look do you want?
Okay, those are all very good. And do you ask this in person or do you send them a questionnaire?
Oftentimes it's through an initial phone call.
Phone call. So it's a person, human-to-human contact. It's not through a questionnaire.
Right.
So the first thing I'm going to warn you guys about is don't send your clients a questionnaire. You're asking your clients to do the work, and they're sitting there thinking, what am I paying you for? And the other thing that you're not allowing yourself to do is to be able to hear nuance and to be able to re-articulate that to the client. So when somebody says, I want my brand to be bold and fresh and modern, you can ask a follow-up question versus the client just submitting a question to you saying bold, fresh, and modern, because that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Assuming that you guys have a shared vocabulary, which you probably don't. Assuming that they're very clear and careful and intentional in the words that they choose, which they're not. So this is the problem.
Well, I have a question about questionnaires.
Okay, then I have an answer about the question.
Funny.
Well,
Go ahead.
does it make sense to even have a questionnaire? Maybe it's something that you could use to tee off your initial conversation with, some starting points.
Well, I believe you should have some questions, but I want you to move away from sending it out via email or a contact form on your website. I want you to engage with your clients in dialogue so that you can then parse out the information and say, I heard you say this, but that is in direct conflict to this. Here's an example. And believe it or not, this is Literally like what's happened on a call before. When somebody has said to me, they want the feeling of this thing to be epic, like really big, but to also to be really intimate.
Like, what does that mean?
Like those two ideas in my brain don't function. They don't compute.
Right.
So I had to then say to them, so on the one hand, I hear you saying you want it to be epic, and then the other hand, you want it to be intimate. But to me, they're on two ends of the spectrum. Maybe they can exist, but I'm having a hard time reconciling that in my own brain. So let's create a sliding scale. Let's put on one side intimate, and if we can think about something intimate, I think about a whisper, very personal, very direct, and epic is like the biggest thing, game-changing, people tune in for an event. Where are we on that scale? Are we in the middle, more to the left, or more to the right? And they said, oh, okay, I see the problem. We want it to feel epic, but try to show very specific people in a genuine and authentic way in the video itself. Oh, I see. Now imagine if they just sent that to you in a questionnaire, you wouldn't know what to do with that.
Right.
Okay. And this is the first danger sign, or this is the second danger sign, which is you begin a project with unclear and abstract objectives. But because you haven't been taught any other way, you're going to start anyway. And maybe this is resonating with you guys right now. So now you don't know really what they want. You don't really know what to do. So you do what everybody does. You go on the internet, you go on Pinterest, you go on Behance, you start searching up things on Google to quote unquote research to find inspiration.
Make a bunch of mood boards.
Well, I don't think they even do that. This is not really about mood boards. I think you're just trying to find something to borrow heavily from. You're looking for an aesthetic or a design thing that you can rip off. I'm just going to say it the way it is. When most people say, I'm going to go get inspiration, that's really the thing is they're going to go rip off something. But we're mostly still working in the realm of aesthetics, the way things look. And you start to sketch. Some people sketch digitally and some people do it via analog, like with paper and pencil. Personally, I don't care which way you do it. I know some old school people are like, pencil first. It's really about the speed in which you iterate and your ability to think quickly. That's all that matters. And somehow these sketches, once you get on the computer, become really tight. So everything starts to look really formal, like everything is lining up. So the sketch is gone. And now you start to invest your personal time and energy into this. And what happens when you start working on something? You guys know what the Ikea effect is, right? Ikea effect?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah, so the Ikea effect is a phenomenon where you go and buy really cheap and inexpensive furniture and you spend hours working on it. So Ikea is for people who have more time than money. That seems like to be a fair trade. College students, maybe you don't make a ton of money and you're just going to go buy Ikea because it's a good value for you. But what you wind up doing is you spend hours and hours working on something like a dresser. A dresser might take you half a day to work on. Now, the dresser itself isn't high quality. Maybe the latches don't work really well. But because you put so much time into it, you actually fall in love with the object itself. This is known as the Ikea effect.
Because you put your time into building the thing.
Yeah, right? So when you're sketching, not a lot of time, not a lot of personal commitment. But when you do a tight design, when you're really working on it, you start to fall in love with it and you can't help but to do that. That's the next problem. You're losing objectivity. You fall in love with your own work. And my friend Aaron here, who thinks Scarface is one of the best films of all time, what's the one rule for drug dealers, Aaron?
Don't get high on your own supply.
And say that in a Cuban accent. Hey, Mang.
Don't get high on your own supply.
Beautiful. Beautifully done, Aaron. So this is you guys designers getting high on your own supply. You're falling in love with your own creation. You look at your own hands like, this is a gift from God. These are beautiful creations. My animation is killer. My photographs are amazing. My typography is impeccable. Whoa. Okay, here goes. Now you go to present to your client. You're full of passion. You think in your mind, oh my God, they're going to be so blown away. So blown away. And you go and you present. And this is where the client gets their first check in from you in terms of your interpretation of their problem. And everything comes to a
Crash and burn.
And what they say is they usually are kind of silent. They're a little bit stunned because when they said fresh, clean, and modern, they were thinking something totally different. Maybe they're thinking like Baja Fresh when they said fresh, clean, and modern because the word fresh is inside Baja Fresh's name. And you were thinking Swiss modern international style. And since they don't have the design vocabulary because they didn't go to design school, they give you feedback and they don't know how to say this. Now, I've worked with composers before, so when somebody gives me a piece of music, I don't know how to respond. All I can tell you is I don't like it or I really, really like it. And the rest of it is really, I'm hoping that my composer will work with me and say, all right, Chris, let's isolate certain parts. Let's talk about what parts you like, don't like. Is it a total miss altogether? And work with me. Instead of saying, is the harmony right? Or is the beat or how many beats per minute do we need to change? If they use super technical terms, they're going to lose me right away because I don't understand what any of that means. Aaron, use some musical terms on me right now to describe music. Can you get technical with me?
I don't really know. I guess that bass line is a little, there's too much bass line. I was hoping for something with a little more melody, something with
Texture.
I don't know, something smoother, more jazzy. I want something less like hip hop.
All right, what are some subgenres of music that's popular right now? Like trap music?
It's like
something like that? EDM,
techno,
trap music, techno,
electronic.
something like that, house. And
Yeah.
they start coming back to me and saying, well, Chris, do you want it more like an EDM, like this kind of beat, like 34 bars per measure or something? What? I'm not going to understand that. So what happens is the client then gives you abstract feedback like, oh, I'm not feeling it. Let's do something more innovative. This isn't it. And you also don't have the vocabulary to meet them in the middle. So you say, okay, I got it. So you walk away.
Because if you say, I don't know what you're saying, then that's bad too, right? You got to know what you're doing.
No, I also honestly think it's okay for you to say, I don't understand what you're saying. Let me see if I can try some other technique. But I only want to illustrate the problem. I'm not going to get into solutions, guys. So those of you guys that have been coached by me that know what I'm talking about, just stay with me in the moment, the old you versus the new you, because I want to highlight the pain that they're feeling right now. Okay? So you go back to your studio, you do more design, and you present again. And we're still nowhere closer. You get vague direction, and sooner or later, the client becomes your art director. Like, you know what? Let me come to your studio. Let me work next to you.
Let me sit in your desk.
Oh, that just makes me want to vomit inside my mouth. Ooh, client wants to sit next to me and like, oh, no, move, no, do this, and oh, let's try this, and oh, here I found something. My daughter sent me something. Why don't we look at this together?
Why don't you try this keyboard shortcut? I know it works.
No, that's totally different.
You're doing it too slow.
That's a real art director. I'm talking about a pretend art director, somebody who actually doesn't know what they're doing, wants to sit next to you. No, that shade of orange, I'm thinking more crimson or more persimmon. I don't like that. Or let's try a different typeface. Let's use that papyrus typeface.
Papyrus.
Right? Papyrus.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's rock that Comic Sans. Oh, okay. That's what's going to happen. All right, let's move on. So you present again and again. You repeat this infinite times. You're in this weird loop. It's Groundhog Day. And every day you wake up, you're like, wait a minute. Haven't I been working on this forever? This is sometimes the dark night of the soul. And at a certain point, you almost kind of entertain the concept of giving the client their money back so you don't have to do the project anymore. You'd rather do that.
Yeah, it's like the easier thing to do.
And I imagine, you guys, you sitting by the window working on your computer, and every once in a while you hear people laughing out in the street, and you look out the window with longing eyes like, oh, that's what it used to be like to have a life. Those people look like they're enjoying things. Let me go back to my machine and keep working on this thing. And at this point, you have no idea what to do. And you're just jamming things around, moving. It's like punching in the dark, like, maybe I'll hit a target. I have no idea. And so you make more and more iterations. So what started out as 2 versions turns out to be 72 versions. Your head is spinning around. The room is collapsing on you. This is like a scene from Train Spotting. You know, when they go into the heroin phase with Ewan McGregor's character, Aaron?
I never saw that movie.
I thought you were the
didn't watch
film.
it either.
You guys, come on. Okay, here we are. We're at the last phase. At this point, you totally give up. You surrender. You don't care anymore. And it's obvious to everybody you don't care. And you finally finish the work. It's acceptable to the client. You're behind schedule for sure. And you're over budget. When I say over budget, I mean You're upside down on the job. You're bleeding money. And the work isn't what you can be proud of, so it's totally compromised. That seems pretty sad. Okay, let's cut away from the slide. Let's talk to our audience for a little bit here. Am I kind of illustrating this for you guys? Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? And if you understand it, it's probably because you're experiencing it right now in a very real and visceral way.
People, this is definitely resonating with people based on their comments.
Hitting a nerve.
What are they saying?
Dustin Dudley Scott says, about 70% of my clients ever.
70%.
That's a lot.
Oh my gosh, that is a lot, guys. Woo! What else? Can you guys talk for a little bit while I read some of the comments myself?
Go for it, yeah. Speak,
Bunch of other
minions.
ones here.
Speak.
Yeah, Chris Tucker, great name by the way,
Chris
says
Tucker.
some of his clients are asking for more cowbell.
More cowbell?
That's a joke from SNL.
It's a joke.
Okay, I don't know that joke. Keep going.
Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, the majority of the people do have these same issues.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
Let's see.
Papyrus.
Sounds about right.
Okay, Shauna K is saying, I'm having lunch, so I'm not paying attention. That's cool. Don't worry about it.
That's my worst nightmare. Client sitting by my side while I'm working. Let me
Someone-
stand over your shoulder.
Yeah, that's always great when someone stands over your shoulder and tells you what to do.
Yeah, that's rough. Mark, do you have a client horror story that you want to share with us without naming names and getting yourself into trouble?
I
Anything
do.
like that?
A lot of them have to do with pricing. I think when some of my clients, initial clients that I've worked with, have gotten a good price, and a lot of that has to do with either friends or family discount. Referrals that I get from those people expect the same price because they've told them how much I've charged, and that's a big pain point because they feel like, oh, well, this is how much it's supposed to cost. So
That's what I was told, right? And you were
Right.
excited about it. And that was your bro rate. That was your May rate.
The friend zone rate.
Yeah. And how do you respond to that, Mark?
Well, this is something that I've been battling for quite a while now, but it's either I don't work with them if they're solid on that low budget, or I try to explain what goes into that work, trying to go and describe all the different steps that go into it and itemize all the charges. That's really helped.
Okay. So you're trying to explain your way through that.
Right.
This is a little bit off what I wanted to talk about, but since you bring this up, and I think if you guys are watching this and you have that friend and family discount rate, your family rate, and somebody else comes up to you and wants the same rate, how should you respond? I don't like to tell people I can't do something. What I like to do is present them some options and then let them choose what works for them. One option is to say to them, I don't work at that rate anymore. That was for my cousin Vinny. And it was one of those things where I'm just trying to help out my family member. My rate for doing this kind of work is 3 times as much. If this is something that you can't afford, I'd be happy to recommend others. But if you want to work with me, this is what I charge all new clients, and you're a new client. What would you like to do? What would they say then?
So then you put it in their hands, huh?
I always try to put it in their hands. Yeah. Like, I want to do this. I want to help you. I want to work with you. But I can't at this price. So I can recommend somebody else, or you can pay me the price that everybody else pays me, and we can do a wonderful job for you. That's it. Is that all right?
Right.
Okay, I've read some of the comments, and nothing crazy coming in just yet, and that's okay. I'm going to go back to my deck here. So let's go back to the deck. So what's the problem? The problem began right at the beginning. We started at the beginning. And when you have fuzzy goals or unclear goals, you have fuzzy results.
I like that.
If you start out the gate, and this is the tendency of creative people, we're so passionate, we're so energized to go do work and show off our skills, our incredible skills that we spent so long learning and perfecting, that we go off half-cocked, half-baked. We don't have a plan. We don't have clear definition of goals. And the consequence of that, the consequence of starting with unclear goals, is you're going to see your profit disappear. That is literally the word profit disappearing into darkness, because that's what's going to happen. At some point, you'll see nothing. And this is where all of your happiness, all of your soul, your wit, your joy goes away. And you might become a really cranky person too. So all that optimism turns upside down. You've now become an order taker versus a consultant, an advisor, or even a professional. Big problem.
And we'll fix that typo there. The taker.
Order taker. I'll fix it right now, is what I'm going to do.
Perfect.
Yeah. you're an order take. There we go. So you've become an order taker versus a consultant. So one has to ask this question, well, that sounds to me like you're being an amateur, a rookie, a noob, and I want to be seen as a professional. So what is the difference between the two? And I found this in a document while I was searching for a process, I think. And it says amateurs have a goal. Professionals have a process. And I want to credit Ryan Holiday, Ramit Sethi, and Seth Godin for the people responsible for writing this whole thing, the difference between amateurs and professionals. So this idea of process and why we call the show Process and why I talk about it so much is because I think it's a really critical thing to you separating yourself from the amateurs in the world. So what does the solution look like to you guys? And I'm going to get into that. The solution is what we want to do is we want to think more, be careful in the words that we say, and what we want to do is to make or do less. So if you look back at that diagram, I believe this is the diagram, a lot of this is spent on making. Look at this, guys. Steps 3 through, 7 or 8 are all about making stuff.
Yep.
So when the client comes to you with that gut feeling and they start to spew out everything that they want you to do, I want you to stop right then and there. You need to put the brakes on, you need to pump the brakes and start to address this thing. And there's a great book and a talk. It's called Start With Why. That's a book written by Simon Sinek. And he has a lecture called The Golden Circle or Start With Why. It's a TED Talk. It's a wildly popular TED Talk. I think it has over 10 million views, probably 20 million views at this point. And he talks about this thing that's inside your brain. The limbic brain, the gut feeling. It doesn't have words, but it's the big driver in decision making. It's the thing that you sense when you're in a situation and you say to yourself, I don't have a good feeling. You can't really even articulate that. And you can refer to this as intuition, whatever it is, whatever other word you want to describe it. Now, the language parts of your brain, the outer parts, are the neocortex, and this is where you have language. The motor commands, spatial reasoning, and language. And what you have to do is you have to get from the gut feeling to the words part. And you're going to be the bridge between that gray matter. You're going to translate those feelings into words. You're going to translate ideas into goals, features into benefits, and stories into insight. But you can't do that without a container. This is the process part. So what you need to do is you need to create a framework to capture ideas centered around what it is that you need to understand from this dialogue. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. So
yeah, the framework idea.
Framework.
That makes sense. Something we can both look at and point to and talk about.
Well, you can say as soon as this client starts talking, and this is typically what happens, hey, Chris, I'm really excited to meet you. Let me tell you a little bit about our history, and they start going on and on and on. And then all of a sudden my eyes kind of glaze over like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So then I have to just raise my hand and say, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Client. I would love to hear about all your story, but as I'm trying to understand and process the things that you're telling me, I need to organize this in some kind of way. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I'm not going to understand everything you have to say, and I'm not going to remember it. Or worse, I don't ask you the question I need to ask you to really understand the problem. So do you mind if I take control of this engagement and just talk to you for a little bit?
Well, that's what a good consultant does.
That's what we try to do.
You got to hear them out and make sure that it's all clear first.
Right. So then what we need to do is to have a few buckets. We have to have a few columns to organize the information into. Now, you need to develop your own process depending on whether you're doing web design, user experience design, if you're designing a video for a couple getting married, if you're designing an identity system, whatever it is that you're making. If you're doing a photo shoot, you might need to know certain things. So you can get the easy stuff out of the way. When is this due? What are the mandates? Like, what do we have to do? By when? Those are kinds of things you can get out of the way right away. Okay, so now I understand. And I'll give you another example of this about having a framework. Oftentimes, we have an open door policy here at Blind, aka the Futur. So people walk into my office all the time. Ben Burns, Scott Rothstein, everybody will walk into my office, Molly, and they'll just start to tell me a whole story. And in the time in which they're telling me the story, I'm listening for a question because I assume they want to have a decision on something. That's when I'm like, guys, stop. Ask your question first. Chris, should we proceed with this client for $20,000 or not? Okay, now I know what I'm listening for. Well, tell me the parameters of the project. What I hear instantly is there's a budget and a scope that don't line up in your brain, because otherwise you wouldn't even come talk to me. It wouldn't even be necessary for you to come and talk to me. But if you don't begin there, I'm just listening to details and I'm trying to figure out, well, where's this going? Do you want my creative input? Like, use red. That's the wrong typeface. Or maybe they need a resource. Oh, book Johnny. Johnny's great. Or Mary. So I have no idea what I'm listening for. So use that as an example and evaluate your own process, you guys, when you're talking to a client. What do you need to know at the onset? So we do need to know a couple things. When's it due? What has to be in it? If it's a video, how long is it? Where is it? Those kinds of really basic things. And now you can start to put everything else into chunks, okay? Now, if you're at the consultant level, you're not going to ask those kinds of very pedantic questions. You're going to ask questions like, what is the goal? What is the objective? What are we trying to accomplish? Why am I talking to you?
And it's good to leave those open-ended, right?
Yes, it is. If you know what you're doing. So let's go back to my deck. If you have a defined process and defined goals, you have a chance for success and you're going to change the entire dynamic. And so I'm going to share with you a snapshot of what our creative process or formula looks like when we're doing client work. So here we go. I don't have individual chunks here, so I'll talk about this one slide for a little bit here. So the clients come to us with that same gut feeling, with that same sense of urgency, but I want to stop them in their tracks. I want to engage with them in words. And I've spent some time developing this by reading books, by studying frameworks, by developing frameworks, by watching other facilitators, by getting coached up how to do this. So now at least I'm able to help them select the precise words that describe what they want, what their goals are, what their timeline is, and what their concerns are. I'm even able to ask them how many people you're talking to and what are you looking for from each person. A simple question that I like to ask my clients is, I assume you're talking to several possible vendors. How will you make your decision as to who to work with? That usually will stop people. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, yes, I'm not here to spend my time building proposals or talk to you, and I'm sure you have better things to do than to look at proposals that have no alignment with what it is that you want. So let's talk about that. Is it budget? Is it personality? Is it experience, expertise? What do you need to know from us? And I will ask that question right up front.
It's like a job interview. I think one of the questions that I hear that's good to ask is, what does an ideal candidate look like for this job?
That's perfect. So what does your ideal partner look like for this engagement? What do? Oh, they're very responsive. When I sent a comment to my last vendor, they took too long to respond. Ooh, you're going to make a note. So what's a reasonable amount of time for you in terms of response? They're going to say 4 hours. Okay, that's great. Let me ask you this question, client. If we sent work over to you, will you also take 4 hours to respond to us? Or do you need more time? So I'm just going to check that a little bit while I'm there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to then take those words and prioritize things. Now, if you let anybody talk long enough, if you say, what are your goals? They will list 200 goals for you. If you ask them, describe the voice and tone of your brand, they're going to list 200 words for you. And many of them won't make any sense. Some words are more powerful than others. So what we want to do is we want to prioritize this. We want to organize it. So if it's 200, let's make them commit to 5. Once they commit to 5, commit to 3. And then you can make them commit to 1. And that's the process that makes making a decision a lot easier. So that's what I mean when I say prioritize. Next up is, now that we have key words identified for goals or descriptive words to talk about the brand, we're going to translate this into images. Now, I want to check with the client very early that when they said clean and modern and high-end or upscale, in my mind, I think of Apple, or I think of Tesla. I think of luxury brands. So what I want to do is quickly show them some visual things. So I'm going to go and do the work. I've spent the time to talk to them, to help them choose the right words, get agreement, prioritize it. Then I'm going to go away and find some scrap on the internet. This is my version of doing research. I want to pull these things and I want to hold it back up to them. What I want to do is almost like saying, I heard these words and this is what it looks like to me, and I'm going to present that to you. Is that clear? And then they look at it like, whoa, oh yeah, wow, okay. I didn't know it could be like that. And maybe that's too aspirational for our consumer base. Maybe Apple feels a little bit too snobbish or out of reach. Let's dial that back in, Chris. Okay, we can do that. So this is where we get agreement. We're checking the words with images to make sure everybody is on the same page. Now, many of you guys that suffer from late cycle revisions, it's because your clients are not the decision maker. They're not the decision maker, meaning they have a boss to report to and their boss has a boss to report to. So this is going to become a problem because John is guessing what Mary is going to do and Mary's guessing what Bob's going to do, and nobody knows what Bob's going to do. So they have you spinning your wheels, making stuff until they feel like it's good. Then they bring it up the chain and present it to the boss person. And the boss person says, no, that's not what I was looking for at all. So it's really important that you be speaking in some capacity to the decision maker. That's not always possible. So what you want to do is to say, I'd like to get buy-in from the decision maker, the key decision maker, and sign off on this before we proceed. This is why your process matters. This is why it's good or critical for you to communicate your process to your customer. Now that you have alignment and agreement with everybody, you're going to want to do a rapid prototype. Now, if you're a product designer, you might take foam core, you might mock things up, you might use cardboard. If you're a packaging designer, slap a label on it. You're going to get really rough, and you want to keep it rough for many different reasons. If you're a logo designer, I would strongly suggest that you make it look ugly and dirtier than it needs to be. And here's why. So when you go and present the rapid prototype, one, you worked on it quickly, and this is key. You've not spent too much time so you don't fall in love with your own supply. That's critical. And when you present it, it's disarming. Why is it disarming? Because it doesn't look so finished. Imagine if you showed up on a job site for a construction of a home and the home looked finished. And they're like, what do you think?
You're like, oh,
now
there's a lot of work that has to go back into redoing it.
Right. Well, most people aren't cruel. Most people aren't insane or evil. They feel bad for you. They're feeling, oh my gosh, that's not what I want. But now what they try to do is have you move the needle just a little bit because they don't want to start over. And honestly, this is like death by 1,000 paper cuts, you guys. When they make a little change, and after a while, it's like you're all cut up. I'd rather say at this early stage, this prototyping stages, somehow we dropped the ball. Between what we agreed on visually and what I presented to you, they're out of sync. What are we going to do about that? Okay, if it's rough, if it's ugly, if it's crude, and I've seen people do this before, where say if you're designing a kitchen, they will build out the appliances in cardboard and move them around in the space with you. So you're like, oh yeah, I really like the way that feels. And then you get buy-in. So that takes a little extra effort, but it really will save you so much time on the back end. It's only at this stage in which we get agreement that the prototype looks good, it solves the business problem, it communicates what we need it to say, that then we will go into the refinement stage. At this point, I would consider the making phase. So essentially what I've done is I've inverted the entire process. All the thinking and talking is happening in the first six phases, and the last 2 phases are actually you making it. And now you're off to the races. And you can execute like a mofo. You can go out and make things really quick and beautiful. You can use all your 3D rendering skills, or you can adjust the keyframe sliders. So it's beautiful. This is when you go to do the actual production, when you book the teams and you marshal the forces to go make what it is that you need to make. And then you deliver. And in this way, when you deliver, the client's like, wow, amazing, of course. Thank you for taking me through this whole process. I was not surprised at any step of the way.
Yep.
We're
Everything's
driving
been clear.
Right. We're driving the client through a chute, a funnel, if you will. It starts big at the top and it starts to collapse down right into the end. And the end part, that little last stretch, that's the design, that's the making part, because I know what I'm doing. And you're going to feel really charged to do this because you know with a certain degree of certainty that this is what the client wants. That you can put the love and the polish into it because they already love it. And that's the difference. Okay, so I'm going to help you guys a little bit here. Obviously, this is our live stream. I'm not trying to teach you the entire business of design course. And if you guys want to take the entire Business of Design course, Aaron, can you share them the our Academy site? Let's cut to that real quick.
And some people are asking, is this going to be a paid course, or are we going to keep this available for free?
I never know, you guys. And Mark, hold on to that question. I want to answer it, so just hold on to that one bit. So this is the site. Aaron, can you drop the link in for them? If you guys go to this, you can take more of the business design course, which is over 2 hours of material, and I get into this. All right, let's cut back to my screen. All right. What I want you guys to do is to learn to ask better questions. And there is such a thing in this realm as bad questions and good questions. So we want to ask less what questions and more why questions. And it's okay for us to start with the what, but we have to drive into the why.
Why?
And don't be a funny guy. I'm going to shoot you right now. Okay, Mark, you're done. Okay. Wise guy. All right, what we need to do is we need to go beyond what things look like, the cosmetic. And I was reading this book called Rebranding Branding, and they said that brand is the mouth, not the lipstick. It's not the cosmetic part. It's the part that means something. What we say, what we do. That's the part that matters. Okay? And a lot of times what people say, and you guys have said it online right now, is, how do I convince my client that this is good or bad? And if you are battling your client right now about aesthetics, about this typeface versus that typeface, this color versus that shade, you've already lost the battle to begin with.
Right.
That when you get into the realm of aesthetics, you've lost already. All right, back to the slide. So those of you guys have seen me speak before, this will be no surprise to you if you watch some of our other videos. I thought I would cut and paste this in here for you anyways. The 3 golden questions that you can ask almost any prospect, any potential client is, what are you trying to accomplish? So even though they go in, they're like, we need a video, Mark. Aaron, we need an animation, or Erica, we need an end tag. It's just to step back and ask them, what are you trying to accomplish with this? I'm curious.
Also known as, what are your goals?
What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Here's question number 2. What's getting in the way of you achieving this goal? We want to identify a challenge, a pain point. Right away. Did you notice the beginning of this presentation or this live stream? I asked you guys, what is your pain point? What are your challenges? So now you feel vested in wanting to know the answer. See how that works?
Yep.
And it makes you feel like I care. And I do care. I want to know what your pain points are.
You're involving us in the process.
Yes, I am. The third question, the third and final question is this. Why do you believe this to be the case? So some of you guys said the clients don't know what they want. Why do you believe that it's important for them to know what they want? Wouldn't that be taking over your job? Wouldn't that turn them into an art director or your boss? And is that truly what you want? So I can go through and chop through most of your objections and either give you the answer or help you come to the realization that maybe your pain point is one in your own mind and not one that you should have. Okay? All right, guys, we have a couple more segments coming up, but before we do that, I just want to ask you guys, if you like this kind of content, make sure the Future will be here tomorrow. I'm going to ask you guys to help us with our goal, become a sustaining member today, commit to giving us $5 a month. There are no promises to anything. All I'm telling you is we will continue to do this if we can hit our financial goals. What I'm doing personally and the team here is I'm paying the team to do this work, and it costs money to do this. So become a sustaining member, you guys. Now, I'm going to answer Mark's question about, will this content be here? I've been struggling with this, guys, and I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I don't know. I'm not playing games with you. I would like to give you all of our content for free. All of it, 100%. I would like to give you the coaching for free. I'd like to give the workshops, the pro memberships, everything for free. But we can't. It's not a sustainable business model. But what we can do is to say, if everybody chips in just a little bit, like I say, for a fancy cup of coffee, if you're willing to forego that for one day each month, and then if enough of you do this, I'd like to keep all the content out there for free. I'm fighting this. I'm fighting this trend. And the trend is to say, put out meaningless content that are infomercials filled with ads, and then put all the good stuff, the content you really want to know, behind a paywall. Force people to pay. And maybe that's just the nature that people will take things for free because it is free. I don't know. I believe in our community. And based on that, I'm going to move on to the next segment. Here we go. Mailbag.
Mailbag.
Mail time. All right. Now, guys, I got this box. I hope I don't unplug my mic here. Hold on. All right, Erica, keep the camera on me. Look at this. I got this box the other day. Look at this. It's enormous. Look at my face. Next to this box, it says fragile. Fragile. Okay? And I'm going to open this box up, you guys. Let's see. Got my knife. Going to open this up. Hold on. Okay. All right, inside this box. I know the size of the box. It's 16 by 4 by 20. The dimensions are right here on the box. That's how big this box is. All right.
Where is it from? What
yeah. I'm sorry.
area?
Okay, hold on. Good one, Mark. This is from Joanna Campbell from New Jersey.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not going to show the address. I don't want her to get... What's that, Mark?
Jersey. One of Molly and
Jersey's.
John's people.
It's one of those... Yeah, it's our people. 2 pounds. Something is in here. So I'm going to open it up, you guys. It's packed with tissue paper, and there's some pink tissue paper. Oh, I see something here, guys. Hold on. Something in bubble wrap. This is very carefully packed, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna need a knife. I would not normally open things this quickly, but considering we're live on air, I'm gonna just rip through this. What is this?
Looking cool.
Can you see it a little bit, guys? Dang it.
Some people are getting their unboxing therapy.
Oh, the tape got me, guys.
Someone says, is that her portfolio?
Well, that would be the most extensive way of sending me a portfolio. Oh, here it comes, guys. Here it is. Here's the reveal. What's that sound? Did you hear that?
No.
Okay. All right, there's a note on the back. There's a note on the back. And it's a picture frame. And, oh, look at this, you guys!
Man,
Oh, my
that
God!
is awesome!
Oh, my God!
On his throne!
Oh, it's Game of Thrones! This is so freaking awesome!
Is that hand-drawn?
Yeah, it's
That
hand-drawn.
looks cool.
This is an original inked drawing.
That is cool.
Dude, I look good. I look tough. I look better than I look in real life, so you've done a good job there. This is Game of Thrones.
Wowzer.
Oh, my God. I think Jamie's going to freak out. So let me read you guys a note. There's a little note on the back here on this frame. Here we go. Chris, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for sharing so much knowledge for free. Thanks for interacting on social media. Thank you for sending me the book. And of course, thank you so much for flying me all the way across the country to meet you all. Oh, I know who this is. It was a really amazing experience that I will carry with me for the rest of my life.
So it's not from Joanna?
No, it's not from Joanna, because I don't remember Joanna flying out here. I took some advice from Ben, and I'm now doing a paid internship for the design department of a packaging company that my father works for. I've only been there I've only been there a few weeks, but I'm already learning a lot and getting to work on real projects. I think it will be an invaluable experience and help me towards achieving my long-term goals. So please say thank you to Ben. Ben, are you watching, Ben?
Thank you, Ben.
He's saying thank you for their ideas. Here's a little something I made for you to show my appreciation. It took me longer than it should have. It looks like it took you a lot of effort, but I really hope you like it. Thanks again for all that you do. Signed, Sean
Campbell. That's
Dude.
right. Ooh,
Sean
that
Campbell.
thing is nice.
Sean Campbell just threw the gauntlet down, dude.
Man.
How are you going to top this, Aaron? Aaron,
Someone's saying that should be your profile pic now.
it's going to be my profile picture. I'm still waiting for my first gift or thank you card from Aaron, who's been here for 2 years, but that's all right. All right. Thank you so much, Sean. I don't think I'm going to read another piece of email. I think that kind of does it.
There was a donation in between all of that. Thank you to Vincent Than.
All right. We don't want you guys to donate. I mean, we appreciate it, but we'd rather you go onto our website and become a sustaining member, please. And there's going to be something special. Who knows? We're going to do something special for everybody that's contributing and pledging, helping to support the future. All right. We're going to do another segment, you guys. We're going to do a new segment, and it's going to be called Words You Should Know. Mark, you do that. You do the say it again. Go ahead. Go ahead, say it.
Words you should know.
I like that. Okay, words you should know. Now, Aaron and Molly and I were talking a little bit around the office, and we're talking about having a precise or more precise vocabulary to describe what it is that you're doing. And rather than talk about design concepts or design terms, I want to talk about business terms and concepts. You guys good with that? So
Let's
I'm
do
gonna
it.
I'm gonna pop this up on the screen, you guys. And check this out. Here are some terms that you need to know. Alignment, arbitrage, ROI, C-suite, M&A, MVP, gross profit, blah, blah, blah. I have pages and pages of these words. So you probably want to do screen capture real quick. Double keystone, vision, mission, goal, tactic, SOW, proposal, deck, insight, metric, brand ladder, positioning statement. Woo! Do you guys know all these terms?
Handful of them.
Aaron,
All of them.
shut
Yeah,
up.
I use them every
Shut
day.
up. I wish I had to shut the front door. Let me see.
We'll just make that soundbite next time.
Yeah, we need more sound effects here. Dang it. And we just need the ones that we have to work. Aaron says he knows them all and he uses them every day. Let's start off with this. And I think I'll have a few terms here. And I think this segment will take about 10, 15 minutes. Let's see how we do, guys. The C-suite. Internets, do you guys know what the C-suite is? Have you met the C-suite?
You guys
Is it
know
sugary?
about that C-suite?
Or is it salty? What is the C-suite? Do they know?
I don't know, Chris. What
Not-
is the C-suite?
Shut up, Aaron.
Not the sea as in the ocean either.
Right. That's a different C.
Let's
Do they
see.
know? This is a term that I picked up recently. When I say recently, like in the last 2.5 years. I remember I was in a meeting with Matt, different Matt, a friend of mine, and Jose. And they're like, oh yeah, we need to talk to the C-suite.
Yep, some people know.
And I raised my hand. I said, what is the C-suite, you guys? What are you guys talking about? Well, the C-suite refers to the executive team. Essentially, any person that has the chief designation in their title. For example, CEO, which you guys know, CMO, hopefully you get to know that person, CRO, and CTO. They are the decision makers. That's what we are referring to as the C-suite, the suite of executives that are the key decision makers.
Someone said I try to avoid those people.
Okay. Why would you try to avoid them?
I don't know.
All right. You guys know what CRO is, Aaron?
No, what is it?
I thought you knew all of these too.
Yeah, I thought you
Come
knew all
on
of
now.
them.
No,
come on.
I was just trying to be funny, but I really don't know.
Okay. The CRO is the Chief Revenue Officer. They're in charge of making sure that sales are coming in, that they're hitting their numbers, and that's what the CRO is. And the CTO is the Chief Technology Officer, which many of you guys know.
COO, the operations officer.
Yep. And the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, which is mostly the highest level of the accountant within the company, right? Making sure that the money is where it's supposed to be. That's a CFO.
My dad was a CFO at his before he retired.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Well, I heard when you get married, you get a CHO, the chief household officer, aka the wife.
The wife, the missus. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right. Aaron, focus up.
There's some funny jokes flying around here.
Don't
about-
read them. Are they funny?
Yeah, but they're not appropriate.
All right,
I had a
don't-
question though.
Yes.
What do these people usually like in your experience? Can you share some insights about,
What they look like?
no, what they're like?
They're just like you and me.
Human?
They're very ambitious. They're driven. They're high-performing people, and they expect incredible things from you. They really do. They have very high expectations. But otherwise, they're just like normal people. There's no difference.
How would they respond to you kind of taking control of the meeting? Are they cool with that, or do they usually want to be in control?
Well, when they hire you to do strategy, then there's an implied relationship in terms of the one that you're going to run. And you need to, because they're not familiar with the way you do things. I will then ask the room, I'm asking for your permission to take control of the agenda and to be able to mind the time, because we have a lot of work to do. And they're usually okay.
Cool.
And they as long as you speak with authority and you're clear and you're humble and you know what you're doing, you're okay. They're going to be all right. This is why we need to know certain terms, and we need to be more clear in the way we talk about stuff. All right, swag. You guys know what swag is?
I've heard you say it before.
Swag.
Something about a...
Pretend
yeah.
you don't know. You guys remember how we do this show? What is swag, you guys?
I don't know. What could that be? I don't know.
It's like it's style, right?
Style, right?
Yeah.
Well, you guys can guess. I mean, it's like what Justin Bieber has, like swag, you know, he's swagging. He's got a lot of swag. Now, swag means a scientific, wild-ass guess.
And that's actually a
Swag.
word, right?
It's a real term that people use. It's an acronym, scientific, wild-ass guess. Sometimes also referred to as a wag. A wag. And again, these are terms I pick up by hanging around with Jose and CEOs in the C-suite. And they're like, well, are we going to just do a wag? And then, of course, I have to raise my hand. It's like, I don't know what a wag is, you guys. It's a wild-ass guess. So it's funny because as soon as I learn that term, I'm dropping that term like it's hot. I'm using it in the room. I say, you guys, I can give you a bid or an estimate, but it'll just be a wag. I'd rather do discovery with you to figure out what we need, who your users are, and try and figure out what the problem is. And then they look at me and it's like, what's a wag? I said, well, it's a wild-ass guess. And what happens with a wild-ass guess is I'm going to guess on the high side because I don't want to sell myself short. I have no idea what we're going to do with this website. So here's a big guess. I don't know. It's going to be $200,000. And of course, that doesn't work for anybody. So then we all have a laugh about it and we move on. So this is because we don't have enough information, but we can make an educated guess based on our experience and the known parameters. These tend to be ballpark figures. When providing a swag, most people tend to overestimate the project scope to cover unexpected challenges.
No, Chris, everyone's saying that in another country, in England, a wag is like a side girlfriend.
Yes, I've heard that in a Kanye
So
song.
we're all saying this.
Yeah, that's cool. You guys, I'm talking about in America, swag, a wag, okay? No girlfriends. All right.
Talking business here, guys.
Now, when you guys are asked to provide an estimate, oftentimes what I find is you'll underestimate the job and then find yourself in deep water. And you don't want to do that. If you want to ensure your own sanity and your health and your financial well-being, guesstimate on the high side. Whatever you're thinking, double it. If it's going to be a wag, minus guess high. Okay? It's non-committal. What's a gum?
Is that a...
Not something you chew in your mouth. What's a gum, you guys?
Sounds like,
Global something?
don't know.
Well,
I
you
don't
can guess
know.
at 3 letters. Go ahead. What's a gum?
Going out more.
It's going out more. Okay. Does the internet know what a gom is?
Game of Moans.
Game of Moans. All right.
Get over myself.
Remember, we're talking about business terms here. It's not TLDR. Okay. A GOM is this. A GOM is a general order of magnitude. This is typically how military and government contracts tend to ask for budgets. They want a general order of magnitude. So what is a ballpark anticipated expense? Is it 1x, 10x, 100x, or 1000x? They just kind of need to know. So is that a $1 engagement, a $10 engagement, 100, 1000, and 100,000, 1 million? They just kind of want to know. So when you're talking about building a battleship, they just want to know, this is 35 billion or is it 2 trillion? We just need to know.
Right. You know, I've heard Elon Musk talk in these terms a lot.
You have?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, his last TED Talk, he's talking about X rates of experience and improvement to things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like
Computer
exponentially.
science. Yeah, exponentials.
Yes.
Factors.
Beautiful. Okay, so you guys are going to learn some business terms while watching today. The next one up is what you guys know probably already, ROI. And a lot of businesses, when we're talking to them, we're talking ROI. And ROI simply is another acronym for return on investment. So here it is in a more technical definition. Given a certain marketing allowable, how much is expected in the new revenue? Meaning, for what we spend, what will we hope to make? So if we build a website or we redo the website and we spend $100,000, but it increases our conversion by X%, that will equal $10 million. So a $100,000 investment to build a new website seems to be a reasonable expense for the reward that we're going to get. So most companies would consider anything better than break even a positive result. Let me give you an example here. We're running Facebook ad campaign right now that Ben Burns is in charge of. In theory, if we spend $1 and we get $1 worth of sales, it's not the end of the world. At least we're breaking even. And some people will spend this kind of money just because they want their market share to grow. They want their consumer base to grow. Now, so anything less than $1 per customer for $1 worth of sales is positive. So you spend 20 cents to get $1 worth of sales. That's a fantastic investment for you to make. 20 cents for $1. So that's what they're talking about when they say ROI. And this is something you need to start to train your brain to think about. Now, you want to think a bit less about what it looks like, what typefaces we're using, what the colors are, what the patterns might be, and talk about how will this impact your bottom line. If we go and redesign the menu for a restaurant, which is a question somebody had, what's that going to do in terms of your business? Is it going to get people in and out faster? Is it going to increase customer satisfaction? Are you going to get less negative reviews? And you guys know this. Whenever you go to a new restaurant, the first thing that I do is I look at the menu. I look at the price, I look at the options available, and then I read the descriptions. So if it sounds appetizing, if it sounds palatable, and it fits within my budget, then yeah, I'll go in and I'll get a table.
Right. And a lot of times they talk about ROI in what? Factors and ratios, right?
Yes. But you just need to know the general term and start to use it and to think about how you want to engage with your new clients. MVP. Everybody knows what MVP is, right? Aaron, what's the MVP?
Most valuable player.
Absolutely wrong.
Kobe Bryant.
MVP in the world that we're talking about, especially in tech and startups, is a minimum viable product. A development technique in which a new product or website is developed with sufficient features to satisfy early adopters. It's very common in Silicon Valley to do this. The final complete set of features is only designed and developed after considering feedback from the product's initial users. So if you're an agile person, if you think about Scrum, they're going to do an MVP at the end of each cycle. So when we talk about building a new website, the bare minimum function and the way it looks is the MVP. And then we see how people use it. So for right now, here's a real life example. We've started a teachable site. It's academy.thefuture.com. And does it have all the bells and whistles? Does it look like everything we want? No, not quite, but it has some of our branding. And Molly and Ben are building the next iterative step because we have encountered some problems, some issues, and they're going to keep iterating on top of that. So the MVP is what we needed to get out to the market to test to see if it works. MVP, a term you should know. Okay.
Now, how does that differ, or how is it similar to a prototype?
A prototype, if it's a working prototype, it's the same thing.
Okay.
But the key word here is the minimal. The least that it has to be in terms for us to get feedback. So some people might build a really high-end prototype. So the prototype is just a rough thing, but it could be fully functional on all levels. Okay? Like a shovel. A shovel needs the spade and needs a handle. That's the MVP. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
Right. And a lot of times you would need an MVP if, say, you're trying to establish a patent for a product.
There you go.
Okay.
Chris, I got a question here.
Go ahead.
How do you explain to a client if the ROI is hard to calculate? Like, how would you use that in a conversation? Because, I mean,
all right,
it's
let's
hard
use
to-
that. Let's talk about that. It is not an easy thing to do, especially, say, in branding. But in digital, it's a lot easier to talk about. So whoever's asking that question, do you have a specific industry that you're in so I can tailor this answer to you? Aaron?
Sorry, say that again?
Give me an industry so that I can tailor the answer to this person. The question is
I don't know,
saying
I'm thinking like he was saying like a business card, for example. What's the ROI on a business card?
an ROI on a business card is almost 100% an expense. It's really hard to prove ROI on that.
So you don't want to be mentioning that if you're talking about business
No,
cards.
because you're still in that space of working on aesthetics, okay? Here's a really simple way to do this. It's not to try to convince them of anything. What you want to do is you just want to ask the client, I'd love to help you do your business cards. How's that going to impact your bottom line? I'm curious. I don't know. I don't think it's going to impact it at all. Do you think we need to do this then? Why do you believe this to be true then? Why do you think we need to do this business card? Well, you know what, to be honest, I actually go out and I'm at conferences all the time and I have to hand out a business card. So why don't we spend the least amount of money and just get your information on there? Typeset it really simple, one color on a pretty standard card stock. Can we do that? Well, I want to create the impression that we're a serious company and then we have amazing offices and we're very professional. So then you're saying to me, then you want to go with like a soft touch card or premium card stock and do some fancy tricks on that. Like, yeah, we really want it to be feel premium. Well, how much would you want to spend per card per printing? And they're like, I don't know. What does it cost? Well, it can cost more than $1 per card. Is that worth it to you? Yes, it is worth it to me because I only need one client to get business from to make $100,000. Okay, so it is important for the card to look good and to create a certain premium feel. Yes? Yes, it is. So how much should we spend on this card? Well, we should spend $3,000 on printing and whatever you charge. Great. Now I have an idea of what it's worth to the client, what they're willing to spend on printing. That'll give me some adjustments that I can make in my head. And when we talk about never price the job, price the client, I'm pricing the client. Some very high-end places, like maybe the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons or something like that, they're going to want everything to be super premium because they're charging their clients appropriately. And they can't just get some super thin, like if you hold up a business card and it kind of folds on its own weight, if it bends, that is not creating that same image that they're looking for. That's why their towels are nice and thick. That's why their sheets are so many thread count. So their business card and all the stationery that they produce has to be at a certain level. I hope that helps. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's some other questions.
I think we got to clarify. I mean, a lot of people think that, hey, you should use all of these terms for all of your clients, but that's not the point here.
That's not the point.
No.
And thanks for bringing up that point. I guess you're on point.
On point.
You're doing a great job. No, I want to introduce to you guys some business terms so that you can be more conversant when you're speaking to the C-suite executives. So when they start dropping terms on you, at least you know what you're talking about. So you don't look like, oh, there's a design kid, put him in a corner until we're ready to talk to him or her.
Yeah, we just don't want you throwing out these terms because it does sound like you're uneducated if you're just throwing out
I was
a lot of
thinking,
terms out there too.
Yeah.
If you throw out ROI and you don't know what it means,
Yeah,
and what
don't do
really-
that.
You're just throwing out buzzwords
Don't do
to,
that.
I feel
to
like
that person.
That's
the
correct.
way you used it was you're kind of trying to see how important is this to the client.
Okay, let's go back to the slide of our ROI. Okay, there it is. What we're saying is, given how much money you spend, how much will this impact your business? So don't even use the word ROI. What are we going to spend on this card? And what is it going to do for your business? What are we going to spend on this website? What's it going to do for your business?
Right.
What are we going to spend on this marketing video, this explainer video? What are we going to spend on this animated end tag? What's it going to do for your business? Well, you know what? Here's the answer. This is the answer most people tell me. They say that my brand, my identity, doesn't reflect how I see us as a company. We look like we're $1 million company, but in truth, we're $1 billion company. So we need to elevate that and to make those two meet. The way we look and the way we talk doesn't live up to my expectations of how I feel on the inside. Great, let me help you out on that. So don't worry about the terms necessarily. Understand the concepts first and foremost. And you're going to want to roll these things out organically in a conversation when appropriate, where appropriate. That's really important.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this before. Most of us are really good at speaking the language of design and art. Few of us are speaking the language of business, and we need to be bilingual. We need to speak the language of art and design and creativity and to speak the language of business. And that's what gets us away from being an amateur, what gets us away from being a maker, a pixel pusher, a creator, if you will. And then we're able to cross over into this other world and have a seat at the table with the C-suite. That's what we want. Who the heck? Aaron, you're fired. Dang it, that guy. Okay, let's get into a couple more terms, and then we'll end the segment, right? We're almost done here, you guys. I told you it was going to be a long one. This one was going to be dense. Buy-in. Do you guys know what buy-in means?
No,
Buy-in.
I can guess.
What is it, Chris?
What is it? Guess, Aaron.
To get someone to really
Buy in.
buy into what
Agree.
I'm saying.
You know, it's funny
To
when you use
invest.
the word to define the word. What does buy-in mean? Well, it means to buy in.
Like to get them to really invest emotionally and their brain power into what I'm saying.
Okay, buy-in. Oops. Oh, we didn't get the... Here we go. Buy-in. Here we go. Buy-in is the acceptance of and commitment to a specific concept or course of action. We hear the term used often in the context of people agreeing to accept something and to provide their support. Aaron, I want to build a new studio to do podcasting here at the office. I want to get your buy-in on that plan. Can I get your support?
Are you bought off on that?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that buy-in is more than support, right? Because it's like throw down your money.
Well, it's money. Well, support means your time, your energy, effort, your spirit, your emotion, your money, everything. Are you behind this concept, Aaron?
Right.
Because the next question is, I'm going to send you a budget to approve of $285,000. Are we bought in? So
Yeah,
once you say,
buy-in,
I
feel
buy
like
in.
it's like a poker term. If you buy into the game, you're in the game.
You're in the game.
If you support the game, okay, well, you guys can have the game at my house or whatever, but if you buy in, you're in it. Like,
You're in it. You're in it.
am I being annoying to you? I just sometimes try to
No.
read your face and like,
Don't read
should
my
I shut
face.
up? I don't know.
You can't read my face. You have no skill
I feel
reading
like
faces.
sometimes
all right?
I look at your face and you're like,
I like what
Screw
Brian
this guy.
Harper here is saying.
What is he
It's,
saying?
Are you invested in the concept?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all it is. Are you
Exactly it.
invested emotionally, financially, everything, the resources? Because we need everybody to buy in on this. Here's the thing. When we were talking about earlier in the first part of the segment in terms of the creative product, you didn't get buy-in from the entire team, meaning your contact didn't tell the CMO, and the CMO didn't tell the CEO, and so by the time it goes back up the chain and they didn't buy into the design or the concept, like they're like, why do we even need to build a website? And they kill the project, and you're up S Creek because you didn't get buy-in. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Runway. This one you know, right, Aaron? It's where models walk down the runway.
oh yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. It's also where the airplane lands. For some reason, in the world of business, there's a lot of metaphors or analogies to airplanes. Runway, take off, land the project, those kinds of things. Well, the runway, here we go. This is what the runway means. Given a company's current burn rate, and we'll talk about burn rate later, how many months can the company operate before going completely bankrupt?
How much cash do you got back to support you?
Okay, so let's talk about burn rate. So we're flying the plane. For every hour that we fly at a certain altitude, we burn a certain amount of fuel. So your burn rate is what you're spending every single month to keep the doors open without adding additional expenses. That could be your rent, lighting, utilities, people to take out the garbage, all that kind of stuff.
Overhead.
And the overhead, which is the number of employees that you have on staff, that you are committed to paying them every single month, insurance, your salary, if you're renting computers, the rental rate of the computers, your Creative Cloud license, all that kind of stuff, that's your burn rate. So if you're spending $10,000 every single month to keep the doors open, guess what your burn rate is? $10,000. So if you have $30,000 left in the bank, your runway is how many months? Erica?
I have no idea.
She's cutting, don't worry. I did that on purpose. Okay, that's cool, that's cool.
I
Well,
am
if you're spending $10,000 every single month to keep the company open, internets, and you have $30,000 in a bank, how many months do you have for your runway? Internet? What are they saying?
The consensus is 3 months.
You mean it's not unanimous? It needs to be 3 months.
There's some mixed comments in here.
Okay, they don't understand math. Okay, let's keep going. All right, that's what runway is. And it's very important for you to know how long your financial runway is. And managing your burn rate relative to cash in hand will extend your runway. Ideally speaking, if you're going to go out and start your own business, you're going to want to have 3 to 6 months of runway so that you're not panicked month one. Unfortunately, many people in the creative community are working with zero runway, meaning they cannot survive this month if the client doesn't pay them. They cannot survive if they don't book a new job this month. That's a really awkward position to be in because every client that comes knocking on your door, you're going to have to say, yes, sir. How many times, sir? And you're going to take every single thing that comes in because you can't stay open. Okay, this one is a super boring term. Customer lifetime value. Again, this is really important for you, especially if you work in marketing and digital. Customer lifetime value, it's the estimated value of a current and future profit attributed to a single customer. For example, if a customer buys a razor handle, how many additional blades will they buy before discarding or switching brands? That is the customer lifetime value. That's why many companies stay in the software business and not in the hardware business. For example, if you buy a computer, that's the hardware. That's a one-off expense. But I'd rather be in the software business because you need to keep updating your software all the time. So those guys that did the $1 million, what is that called? The Dollar Shave Club?
Yep.
Club?
Yep.
They treated the razor blade handle, the handle itself as the hardware, and the blades itself as software. So you get into a subscription plan, and I'd rather be in the software business because then the customer lifetime value is much, much higher.
Very important with subscription-based models.
And guess what? Subscribe to our channel. We need you to
Speaking of
subscribe.
subscribing, let me drop a link on you guys.
Drop it on them, Aaron.
It's a big one.
Okay, here we go. Surfacing. What does surfacing mean?
To uncover, to unearth.
Bring things to light.
There we go. The act of bringing deep-seated issues, motivations, or solutions to the surface. So we want to surface pain points. We want to surface deeper motivations. We want to surface the challenges that you're experiencing. We want to surface the customer frustration as they use your website. We need to figure what that is. Okay? I think that's it, you guys, for this segment. And I want to share some resources with you right now. Let's cut to that screen. Resources, here we go. If you guys want to know more about business terms, there's something called the Business Dictionary. So go to thebusinessdictionary.com, I believe, and you can look them up. And some people are questioning us. Why don't we go deeper on the show? The show is not meant to be a 17-hour show. So what we want to do is we want to introduce concepts to you for you then to pursue later. You should dig deeper into this so you can have an understanding of this. You should form communities around common interests on Facebook or wherever else you do and discuss it with them. Hey, we were talking about ROI on the show today. How have you heard that term? How are you using it? Then you have some options and you can talk to them and understand. Now, a lot of you guys are in, I think we're up to 170 of you guys are in the pro membership. These are kinds of conversations we're having all the time. All right? And let me get out of this thing. Oh, that design school game. We're not going to go into that slide. I think I skipped that. Okay, before we end the show, guys, oops. Let's, how was the show for you guys today?
Loved it.
good.
One of the best, I'd say. Right, guys? Come on, don't everyone speak at once.
I don't know.
The
I don't know if
sincerity of your voice, Aaron, is killing me.
Do you have Aaron's buy-in?
I'm so bought in.
He's not bought in.
I'm in deep, man.
I wish I had a couple more sound effects here. I'm looking at what I have and it's not good. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It may or may not live on this channel. I don't know. I think it's going to, but don't stress out. How many people are tuning in right now on YouTube and on Facebook? Can you guys give me some numbers?
Too many to count.
Come on. Look it up, dude.
There's a
I'm on it.
number.
There's a number. You can look it up.
635 on YouTube.
All right, 635 and on Facebook?
111.
111. Our audience is very drastically depending on Facebook and on YouTube. So we're at a 6-to-1 ratio right now, and that's why we spend more of our time reading the YouTube comments. Just letting you guys know. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, you guys. Remember, you're not defined by the past. The future is what you make it. Let's get out of the show. Aaron,
Erica.